When my daughter turned 18, she demanded I keep paying her mom child support. They tried to manipulate me, so I told her, get a job and pay it yourself. Hello Reddit I+ here. When I walked out of the county courthouse last Thursday afternoon, the sky looked like it had been painted to match my mood. Gray, heavy, and threatening to pour at any second. The parking lot smelled faintly of wet asphalt, even though the rain hadn't fallen yet. In my hand, I clutched the stamped and signed papers. Official, final. After 19 years of monthly payments, my obligation to support my ex-wife financially had come to an end. For a moment, I just stood there by my truck, staring at that paper, as if it might dissolve into smoke. 19 years. That's almost half my life. The judge's words still echoed in my head. Your legal responsibility is complete. A simple sentence, but to me, it felt like the release of a shackle I had worn for nearly 2 decades. It wasn't just about the money, though Lord knows the money nearly broke me more than once. It was about the weight of always being treated as nothing more than a paycheck. The villain in every argument. The convenient scapegoat whenever life got hard. My daughter Lena had just turned 19 the week before. A milestone birthday, the age where she was supposed to step into her own independence. Instead, that very night, my phone buzzed with a message from her. Just 3 words. We need to talk. No, hi, no, love you, no, congratulations. Lena had always been blunt like me, not one for flowery language, so I called her immediately. Hey, I said when she picked up. There was silence on the other end. I could hear faint noises in the background. Probably her mother pacing the kitchen. Then Lena's voice, sharp and anxious. Dad, Mom's freaking out. She said you stopped paying child support. That's right, I said evenly. The court ended it. You're 19 now. It's done. There was another silence. This one heavier. Then Lena's voice cracked just slightly. She can't afford the bills. She doesn't know how she's going to make it. You can't just stop caring because of some date on a calendar. That one hit me, not because she was right, but because of how wrong she was. My mind flashed back 15 years, to my cramped 1-bedroom apartment in a rundown neighborhood, the mattress on the floor where Lena would sleep when it was my weekend. I worked 2 jobs back then, loading trucks overnight at a warehouse, then serving tables during the day. I remember standing in the kitchen at 3 a.m., heating canned soup, knowing I'd have to be up again in 2 hours. Every time I got a raise, even a tiny one, her mother, Dana, dragged me back to court. If I made an extra 100 a month, she'd demand 90 of it. I drove a rusted-out sedan with no air conditioning, tires so bald I prayed every time I merged onto the highway. There were weeks I had to choose between groceries or gas. I missed rent, I skipped meals, I sold my guitar, my last luxury, just to make sure the check cleared. And through it all, Dana never once asked how I was holding up. Every plea for a break, every request for understanding, got the same cold reply. Take it up with the court. But now that the money was cut off, suddenly, it was a crisis. Suddenly, I was supposed to swoop in and save her. Back to the phone call. I'm not giving her another dime, I said flatly. There was a sharp inhale on the other end. Then Lena snapped, Wow! You're really just going to let her drown like that? If you care that much, I shot back, then you get a job. Work 60 hours a week. Hand over your paycheck to her. That's what I did. The line went quiet. Then she delivered the blow. If you don't help her, I can't have a relationship with you. And just like that, the call ended. 3 days passed. No texts, no calls, not even a good morning. Lena was stubborn. Just like her mother. Just like me. I saw her post on Instagram. A black square with the caption, Family doesn't abandon you when it's inconvenient. She didn't tag me, but she didn't need to. The people who knew. The comments poured in. Friends telling her she was strong, strangers dropping heart emojis, some even mentioning me by name, tearing me apart without ever knowing the years of sacrifice I'd endured. Not one of them remembered the Christmases I sat alone so she could have gifts under a tree at her mother's house. Not one thought about the times I slept in my truck outside the courthouse, too broke to afford a motel, after losing yet another round in court. No one saw me selling plasma just to keep up with an increase. All they saw was a man who stopped paying. That Saturday I drove past Dana's house. The porch sagged. The gutters were falling apart. Paint peeled off the siding. She'd never been good with money. Not when we were married and not now. I knew she was struggling, but I also remembered the years she laughed in my face when I begged for just 1 month of breathing room. She had shown no mercy when I was drowning. Why was I expected to save her now? Sunday morning, my sister called. Lena blocked me, she said softly. Told me I was enabling an abuser for siding with you. That one punched me in the gut. Not because of the word abuser, but because I realized Lena had gone all in. She had chosen her side. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about loyalty, about rewriting the story so I was the villain and Dana was the long-suffering saint. Monday evening, when I got home, there was a small cardboard box on my porch. Inside were photos. Me and Lena at the zoo. Her 8th birthday party. The first time she rode her bike without training wheels. All the frames I had carefully kept, now dumped back at my doorstep like trash. No note, just a message louder than words. She was done with me. That night, I sat in my living room staring at those photos, replaying the phone call again and again, wondering if I should have said something softer, offered a compromise. But every time my resolve wavered, I remembered the nights I cried in my car after court, the weeks I ate ramen while Dana demanded more, the years of being seen only as a walking wallet. So no, I didn't break then, and I won't break now. It aches, God it aches, to know my daughter sees me as the bad guy. But I'm done paying for a seat at the table of people who only remember me when the bill is due. Now I sit here, in the quiet, surrounded by old photos and silence, asking myself the question I can't ask Lena anymore. Am I wrong for finally saying no? 2 weeks passed before I heard anything more. 2 weeks of silence from Lena. 2 weeks of half-slept nights, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd done the right thing, or if I'd just burned the last bridge I had with my only child. Then came the email. It was from Dana. Subject line, urgent. For Lena's sake. My gut twisted before I even opened it. Dana never reached out unless it was about money or leverage, and sure enough the body of the email was exactly what I expected. An attempt at guilt-tripping dressed up as concern. She wrote, I hope you realize Lena is devastated by your decision. She feels abandoned. You've put us in a terrible position, and I'm sure the court would see that this isn't just about legal obligations but about moral ones. If you had any heart left, you'd step up for your daughter the way a real father would. You've got one last chance to make this right before I take further steps. Further steps. I could practically hear her grinding her teeth as she typed that. Dana always believed she could drag me back into the courthouse like a dog on a leash. The problem was, she didn't seem to understand what final judgment meant. I didn't respond. Not a word. A week later, I got the notice in the mail anyway. Dana had filed a motion. She was trying to petition for extended support on the basis that Lena was still in school, still dependent. It was a long shot, and deep down she had to know it. But Dana thrived on dragging things out. Court wasn't just her battleground. It was her playground. When I showed up at the hearing, the judge looked tired before we even began. Dana spoke first, painting herself as the struggling, selfless mother who had sacrificed everything, while I heartlessly cut them off the moment Lena turned 19. She cried on cue, her voice cracking at all the right moments. Then Lena spoke. She didn't look at me once. She sat beside her mother, clutching Dana's hand, and told the judge I had abandoned them both. She said I was punishing Dana by punishing her, that I was putting her future at risk. For a moment, I almost broke, watching my daughter, my little girl, sit there, her eyes hard as stone, telling strangers I had failed her. It cut deeper than any financial demand ever had. But then, the judge turned to me. Mr. Rowan, your response. I slid the signed termination order across the table. Stamped. Dated. Ironclad. Your Honor? I said. My voice calm, even though my hands were trembling under the table. For 19 years I paid exactly what the court demanded. More, even. I worked myself to the bone. I skipped meals. I gave up every comfort so that child support was never missed. It ended because the law says it ended. I am not here to be bled dry beyond what was ordered. If they want more, they're asking me to keep sacrificing while ignoring what I've already given. The judge read the paper, nodded once, and looked at Dana. Case dismissed, just like that. The gavel came down, and it was over. Dana's face burned red. Lena's eyes filled with tears, but not the kind I wanted to see. These weren't tears of reconciliation. They were tears of rage. They stormed out before I could even stand. The next attempt came a month later. This time, it wasn't legal threats. It was reconciliation. Lena showed up at my door one Sunday morning. I almost didn't recognize her at first. She looked older, more worn. The stress of everything had etched itself onto her young face. Dad, she said softly, can we talk? For a second, hope surged through me. Maybe she'd finally seen through Dana's manipulations. Maybe she wanted her father back. We sat at the kitchen table, 2 mugs of coffee between us. She started carefully, asking how I'd been, if work was going okay. Then she eased into it. Mom's been really struggling, she said, her eyes darting to the table. We've been behind on bills. She's sick sometimes, and it's hard for her to keep up. If you could just help a little, just until I graduate, it would mean the world. There it was, the ask. I leaned back in my chair, staring at her. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to hand her every dollar I had, just to erase the distance between us. But then I remembered the photos left on my porch, the accusations, the courtroom lies. Lena, I said quietly, I can love you without funding your mother. I'm here for you. Always. But I won't give her another dime. Her face fell. She tried again, this time with tears. She said I was letting pride destroy our relationship. She said family meant sacrifice. She said Dana was sick, that I'd regret it if she died and I hadn't helped. But I saw through it. Dana's script, word for word. When Lena realized I wasn't budging, she stood. Her chair scraped against the floor, her hands trembling. Fine, she said. If you won't be there for her, then you're not there for me. And just like that, she walked out. It's been a year since that day. I haven't heard from either of them. Not a text, not an email, not a knock at the door. I've seen glimpses of their lives online. Lena posting photos with her friends, Dana posting cryptic quotes about toxic men and absent fathers. But me? I've moved on. I started taking better care of myself. I joined a hiking group, something I never had the time or money for before. I bought a used motorcycle and take weekend rides through the countryside. I even started dating again, something I thought I'd never have the courage to do after years of bitterness. For the first time in almost 20 years, I feel free. Do I miss Lena? Every damn day. There are moments when I see a girl her age at the grocery store and my chest aches so hard I can barely breathe. I still keep the box of photos, even though part of me knows I shouldn't. But freedom came at a price. And I've accepted that. Dana and Lena tried manipulation. They tried the courts. They even tried to dangle reconciliation like a carrot on a stick. But I finally learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes, loving yourself means walking away, even from the people you thought you could never live without. So now, when I sit on my porch at night, watching the sunset, I whisper to the silence around me, not for them to hear, but for me. I am done. I survived. And I am free.